نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبد الله ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. أوصيكم ونفسي بتقوى الله عز وجل كما جاء في محكم التنزيل. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We always start off with an abundant praise for our beloved Creator, Provider, Sustainer, and Maker. We ask Him to guide our hearts and help us along the path and forgive us when we turn to Him in forgiveness, and He has promised us Jannah. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to join us all and gather us all in heaven. I would like to first translate the last part of the small Arabic introduction that many of our scholars deemed as necessary. And that is the ayah that basically it says, or before that I said, I advise all of you as well as myself, because my ears are closer to my mouth, what I'm hearing, to taqwa, to the concept of God consciousness, to piety, to be fearful of standing in front of our beloved Creator whenever we will die and we will stand in front of Him. And so then the ayah it says, O you who believe, be conscious of your responsibility to God and do not die except as a Muslim, except as one who has submitted their will to the will of Almighty God. This is the very clear teaching from Surah Al-Imran. And so what we learn from this and what we will see emphasized in our sermon today about what is most important about how we come out at the end of the day. What is most important? Is it the language you speak, the clothing you wear, the way you act as a person? Or is it generally the piety and God consciousness that is in your heart that comes out and regulates the way that you live, regardless of the customary cultural tendencies that you have? The ayah is telling us what is most important is that we are preparing ourselves to stand in front of our Maker, who we are responsible for the inherent innate fitrah, this inherent innate knowledge about Him and the revelation that He sent the prophets throughout history. That is the top priority. The rest comes under that. And that's something the ummah needs to realize. But unfortunately we live in a modern world that really is about nationalism and pitting people against each other and cultural ethnocentrism, seeing my ethnocentric qualities as better than the other, when in the end of the day it is as the Prophet ﷺ said in his Hujjat al-Wada', when he gave his farewell address in the pilgrimage in front of all the people, he said, Ya ayyuhan nas. And some of the scholars mentioned that it could have been that some of the polytheists that were still left over, because there's this time that they're going through, he says, O mankind, O people, inna rabbakum wahid wa inna abakum wahid. Indeed, your Lord is one for all mankind. This is supposed to be hal ballaght. After that he says, did I give this message? We're supposed to carry this message to all of the corners of the earth. So indeed your Lord is one, and your Father is one. Who is your father? Adam alayhi salam. Adam is the father of all of us. And so he is now authenticating the Prophet ﷺ a human brotherhood, the brotherhood of humanity. This is something the Prophet ﷺ taught. right? Some people get caught up in some of these books written on al-wala' wal-bara'a, and they got confused somewhere along the line and didn't see the clear, lucid teachings of the Prophet ﷺ, and they got caught up into politics. A lot of what we want to fix today is people allowing political thoughts and ideas to corrupt their religious identity and the way they relate to people. This is a big problem that we have to fix as Muslims worldwide, right, to establish ourselves in a good situation. So then the Prophet ﷺ, after he said, your Lord is one, and your Father is one, meaning your one human brotherhood, then he says, أَلَا لَا فَضْلُ لِعَرَبِيٍّ عَلَى عَجَمِيٍّ أَلَا لَا فَضْلُ لِعَجَمِيٍّ عَلَى عَرَبِيٍّ أَلَا لَا فَضْلُ لِأَحْمَرْ عَلى أَسْوَدٍ أو أَسْوَدْ عَلى أَحْمَرٍ إِنَّ أَكْرَمَكُمْ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ أَتْقَاكُمْ إِلَّا بِالتَّقْوَى. The Prophet ﷺ said, so the Prophet ﷺ says, an Arab is not superior to a non-Arab, nor is a non-Arab superior to an Arab, and neither is a white superior to a black or a black superior to a white, except with piety, except with God consciousness, except for that awe of our Creator, that I'm responsible in front of you, that has given me this life and everything in it. I need to reflect that in a gratitude in my lifestyle and character following this revelation. Those people that have that, regardless of the language they speak, regardless of the style of clothing they wear, the customs that they follow, that is not the priority. That is not what defines you as a Muslim. No. The Prophet ﷺ is saying it's much different. So unfortunately, I have come in contact time and time again with a big problem in a misunderstanding of Islam because of people preferring culture over Islam, or seeing culture should be in charge of Islam and not vice versa. Where the people they give, I've heard imams say it, I've heard tons of common folks say it, I've heard parents say it, I've heard kids say it amongst Muslims, which is this idea that being Muslim and being American is somehow antithesis, that one cannot be with the other. You cannot be American Muslim because there's something wrong with American. It's kuffar, it's wrong, it's messed up, there's something not Islamic about it. And so we see this mentality growing amongst the ummah. So many of the kids, they get this confused dual personality because they were born and raised here. Their native tongue is English, but they're being told, but you're really from where I'm from, right? And okay, Baba, they love their family. They don't want to make problems with their family, right? They love their parents. These are the ones that take care of them. But factually and logically and psychologically, it's a dilemma. Because I don't really know much about there except for what you say and some of the things you do. But what I do know very well is here. And you're kind of giving me the idea that being here, born and raised here, there's something wrong with that. And this is a psychological problem and dilemma that we're creating in our youth. So what happens is that when they're around mom and dad or at the mosque, they have this attitude and this way that they function. And so they're American because that's what they are. But they want to promote themselves as from somewhere else, like they really are naturally from a different culture than the one that they actually are from. Then when they're around their friends, they act very comfortably American. And so they form this dual personality. Some of the kids tell me, my American school. They say that as opposed to the Sunday school or the full-time Charlotte Islamic Academy, like this is not an American school. Oh yes, it is an American school. I'll tell you why. It's in America, and the reason why this school exists in America, because the American law and constitution set up a system so that it could be there. And if America was not murahib, welcoming to Islam to establish itself here, and welcoming it as something that can become a natural part of this reality, then it would not be there. And the vast majority of the kids that were born and raised, have an American passport, are called American, and their native tongue is English. This is an American school. It should be known as an Islamic American school. But unfortunately, many of the kids are calling it an Arabic school, which it is not an Arabic school. And unfortunately, that's where we as parents, because my kids go there, I want them to go there. I tell you all to have your kids in these schools because it develops a process by which they can identify themselves with Islam. But we need to help make sure that we are not preferring culture over Islam, or pushing a foreign cultural interpretation of Islam as Islam mutlaq, that's the way it always is and should be for everywhere and every place. Because Arabic is the language of the final revelation of Islam. And that's how you would become scholarly and have a deep relationship and attachment. And if we have that opportunity, that's a great opportunity that we should all take. Right? But being Arabic, or the language of Arabic, is not the language of Islam. Meaning, if you spoke another language, you're not Muslim, because Moses did not speak Arabic. Jesus did not speak Arabic. Noah, Abraham did not speak Arabic. Were they not Muslim? Were they not the great prophets? Right? So let's clarify that. Let's universalize ourselves and move outside of the cultural restriction that we find ourselves facing right now. So the prophets, they used to refer to the people that they were sent to as my people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Holy Quran would refer to that prophet as the brother of the people they were sent to. It says, and that's from Noah all the way to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and everywhere in between. قَالَ رَبِّ إِنَّ قَوْمِي كَذَّبُونِي. Noah said, my Lord, my people have rejected me. Who is he talking about? Believers? Disbelievers he's talking about. He's referring to disbelievers as his people. Do you see the point here? I think we might need to marinate on this one a little bit. This is English lingo. Yeah, soak it up. Stawa, inshallah. Right? We need to soak this in. And so that was an attitude. وَإِلَى ثَمُودَ أَخَاهُمْ صَالِحًا قَالَ يَا قَوْمِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مَا لَكُمْ مِنْ إِلَهٍ غَيْرُهُ. The Salih, he was the brother of Thamud, the people who rejected him and destroyed the camel, right? He said, oh my people, right? There is no God except for the only God, the creator of the universe, right? That's what he said to them. And we hear the same thing. وَإِلَى مَدْيَنَ أَخَاهُمْ شُعَيْبًا قَالَ يَا قَوْمِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مَا لَكُمْ مِنْ إِلَهٍ غَيْرُهُ. And so Shu'aib, who was the brother of his people, said to them, oh my people, worship God alone. There is no other entity, deity, or nothing that shall be worshipped beside him. Right? That was the attitude. And then the Prophet ﷺ, وَقَالَ الرَّسُولُ يَا رَبِّ إِنَّ قَوْمِ اتَّخَذُوا هَذَا الْقُرْآنَ مَهْجُورًا. And when the messenger, I'm talking about Muhammad ﷺ here, when he said to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he calls out to him, he said, my people, talking about who? The people of Mecca, those who humiliated and attacked and abused him, right? Those are my people. I'm born from them. I'm of them. I should see myself that way, right? They have turned their back on this revelation that I was sent with, right? So this is the Quranic teaching, which is showing that the attitude that we get about those Americans, and don't be American, and I'm really Pakistani or Egyptian or Syrian or Bangladeshi or Turkish or Malaysian or whatever. No, you're not. You have a family cultural heritage from those places that you need to know and understand and respect, but you yourself are American. And you need to own that reality if we ever expect to be respected or one day become influential as a native entity to this country. This is just a very clear point. So all of us are either one of a few people. Okay? It could be, there are some people here, that you are an immigrant who came to study at a university to get a degree, or you came for business and you are clearly, honestly planning to go back. Honestly. A lot of people have been here 20 years. Oh, inshallah, I'm going to go back home one day. No, brother, this is your home. Ahlan wa sahlan. We welcome you here. The government, the people, Muslim, non-Muslim, nurahab bik. You're our brother and our people. We welcome you in. That's the beauty of this country. Right? So, but for those people, obviously these verses I'm talking about apply to their homeland, where they're going to go back. That's their homeland. They have a responsibility. They need to spread the da'wah there. They need to be attached to there, and that's fine, and they should be that way. So that group is obviously not really who we're talking about today. But that being said, you should at least respect the fact that this country has given you an opportunity that probably you can't find that opportunity or that quality of education or financial opportunity anywhere else. And that's why you came here for it. So don't hate the country because you hate some parts of the country or you don't like some parts of the country. So the next two are as follows. You're attaining citizenship. You're building a family here. You come to live here, you're building a family, kids are being raised, you spent time, you're either going to attain citizenship or you have the green card. So that's your reality. So you should plan for the future progeny. رَبَّنَا وَجَعَلْنَا مُسْلِمَيْنِ لَكَ وَمِن ذُرِّيَّتِنَا That وَمِن أَوْلَادِنَا Min awladina, for my kids. Dhurriyatina, their kids and their kids and their kids. Abraham alayhi salatu wassalam, peace be upon him, Abraham and Ishmael, they were planning for a long way. And what was that final plan? The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. If they didn't have that mindset, then that dua maybe is not answered, wallahu a'lam. Yani we're talking logically now. But they looked at what's going to be in the best interest of many generations amongst this land which they were establishing, called Mecca at the time. Later it became called Mecca. And what we call Al-Arab al-Musta'riba. When the Arab al-Ariba, the original Arabs which were from Yemen and this coastal line of Djibouti and Ethiopia and Somalia, they were from there. But then they came up as tribes, and then with Ishmael and his progeny, and then being with them, they developed into what is mostly now known as the Arabs that became the Arabs, quote unquote. So they were looking for their progenies, and we should look for that. Now this doesn't mean, as I said, nobody is telling anybody, throw away your cultural heritage, leave who you are, because we should all just become Americans even though you were born and raised. We want you to be able to appreciate who you are, just like we're asking you and the future generations of this country that are Muslim to appreciate who they are, right? It's a balance, it's fairness. Everybody should be able to appreciate these things. So it's the luxury. Why do so many people that come here want to tell their kids to be from where they're from? Because they were born and raised there. They love it because of that. That's all they knew growing up. That's the back home, right? That's the way they feel. How about you let them have their home here, just like you were able to have that? That's the only suggestion we're making here, so that they can own their reality here. That they won't see that I'm not really from here, so taking part in the system, being part of the influence and well-being and islah, the betterment of this country. No, I just see it as, those Americans, they're separate from me. How are you ever going to take part in something you don't feel part of? This is a very serious issue that needs to be dealt with. So like I said, if you're not convinced with adopting or adapting to this reality here, you don't have to change who you are, but allow other people. Don't be ethnocentric. There are many great things. Like when I went to Egypt and when I went to Kuwait, I had to adapt. I used to, generally when I walked around, I wore dish dashes, I used to wear ghutra sometimes. I understand real quickly certain things that not necessarily from Islam, but that's what the urf is. Like I'll never forget when I was sitting with the sheikh and I was learning, and then I put my foot up like we do when we relax like this. Sheikh got upset. Why is your foot in my face? Logically, my foot is far from your face. It's not what I'm doing. He said, no, your foot is in my face. I saw he's offended, so I have to stop that. Therefore, after that, what did I do? I didn't do like that. Why? Because I'm in his country, and he has a culture and a custom that is seen urf, ma'rufan. So I have to have that ma'ruf for him, right? I can't say, no, my American way is better, and you don't have a dalil in the Quran and the Sunnah for your point. So I'm going to force my American ways on you, brother. What's up now? This is not the attitude we have. Unfortunately, many people brought that attitude here. We need to not have that attitude. That is not the way forward. That is not the way to a positive progression as an influential, respective, native, religious expression in this country. That is our goal. That is the only way we will convey our message, and people will say, yeah, you guys represent something good, because we understand you from a cultural context, and now we can grasp your religious things that define you, that make you a little bit different than us, right? So this is, inshallah, something we should pay attention to. I met a Pakistani sheikh that I'm calling him Pakistani, but he's not Pakistani. His parents were in Mecca. They were working there. His dad was. He ended up marrying, they were both Pakistani. So he was born in Mecca, mashallah. It's a barakah. It's a big blessing. And so he was raised there, and he got involved in the Islamic schools, sat with the scholars. He became so attached to the scholars that when, and the society, naturally, is Mecca. When his parents said, we're going back home, he was 12. He said, I would like to stay here with the scholars, finish my studies, then maybe I will meet up with you later, right? I will keep contact, phone, whatever, you know, and then when internet came, obviously that came up. But so when you look at this brother, when you look at him, the brother's Pakistani, mashallah. When he opens his mouth, Khaliji mahd. He is Khaliji. He is from the Gulf. His ghutra, his iqal, his attitude, the way he functions, his lahja, the way he eats, all of that is very much Arabian Gulf. And he's a practicing scholarly Muslim. So he has the Islam, because in the Arabian Gulf there are atheists, there are alcohol drinkers, there are corrupt people, there's corrupt oppressive cultures going on that are completely contradictory to Islam. If he defined himself as that, then we'd have a problem with him. But he can be different from his parents as long as taqwa is his guide and focus, right? So then the last group, you're born and raised Muslim, or you were born and raised here and you became Muslim. So what happens is, as we said, some people get confused, they develop a dual personality. Others move away from Islam. What happens, here's another problem that happens, that I've seen a lot. When I talk to apostates and those that are just, you know, culturally, nominally Muslim, but if you see them away from their family, they really have nothing to do with the deen. They're doing kaba'ir at will with no problem, right? But when somebody comes over and they start a prayer, they're like, okay, I'll go pray with you guys, right? What happened with many people is they became the cultural assumption. They saw, for example, a child grew up saw his father beating his mother. A child who grew up who never saw his father because of a culture that says the father is a working man and he's very serious. And when he comes home, he expects his food, and then he wants his soccer game on the satellite, and that's it. Leave Baba alone. Right? So that alienated the person. Some attitudes that those are this, and he's one of them. Those kuffar, those Americans. So some of them got alienated because of that. But they didn't know because they didn't seek knowledge, and there was no institution that helped them to relate to Islam as Americans. So they were like, that Islamic thing, I'm not comfortable with it. And they went on about their way. Because they assumed that whatever cultural thing is coming from Muslims must be Islam. And I'm here to tell you, and you all know it, Muslims have a long way to go till we reach Khulafa al-Rashidin again. Okay? We're light years from there. So we have issues internally in the Muslim countries that is far from Islam, and it is a normal culture that people have just like we have it here. Let's not be in a fake world that we're all, mashallah, holier than thou. We are all human beings that need to work to perfect ourselves and make ourselves better. So then you have the third group. That Muslims, because of this, they want to be in Islam. They read Quran and Sunnah, they're convinced, they found the beauty of the Prophet ﷺ, but because of this cultural emphasis, the way they start to prioritize their life and identify themselves as a Muslim is through cultural realities. So they start getting their dish dasha and their surwal and qamis and their hat and their whole thing, and now this is me as a Muslim. They start eating with their hands and so forth. They start using Arabic words even though there's an English equivalent, and then everybody that they talk to that doesn't know Arabic is like, why do you keep saying Arabic words? This is cultural stuff. It doesn't make you more of a Muslim. Whether you said pray for me or make dua for me, those two things mean the exact same thing. Why do you have to say it in Arabic if you're talking to somebody in English? Right? Arabizi, I call it. So little words keep coming up here and there that are in Arabic. Right? Obviously, salah is something we need to introduce. This is not just prayer as American knows. This is salah. We're going to tell them this is our salah. This is our salat, as they say. Right? It has certain rules about it that need to be understood. This is one of those words that need to be inculcated, bring into the English lexicon. Hijab. Hijab is not a scarf. Hijab is not a scarf. Hijab is a whole concept of sitr. It's a concept of modesty, chastity in a modest clothing and character style, right? So unfortunately, even the Muslim world, they don't know what hijab is, right? So you see this sister, she wrapped this thing around her head, and the rest of her, you're like, astaghfirullah, lowering the gaze doesn't do nothing, because you look down and there's still this tight and everything going on. It's a problem. And that's because culture has defined something in opposition to Islam. Because Muslims are doing it, it must be right. So this is where we have to authenticate religion over culture in all matters, in all places, and all times. So this attitude that some new Muslims and some young Muslims get about this cultural prioritization of their expression to Islam and outward realities, many of them neglect the inward development. So you see a brother's got his pant leg up, got his long beard and come in, but he's very harsh and offensive sometimes, right? But you're like, isn't the Prophet ﷺ whole thing about rahmah and compassion and sweet words and rifq and all of these gentleness and kindness? Wasn't that the way of the Prophet? Wasn't that his sunnah for real? Anybody can throw on some outfit and grow out a beard, right? That's a very marginal part of who the Prophet ﷺ was. Very outward, very not the essence of Islam. إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُرَبِّي لِحْيَا وَقَصِّرْ ثِيَابِي لَا لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. The Prophet ﷺ said, the only purpose, the main purpose I was sent to bring to people is the development of good character traits in them, to give them the best example of that. So we need to develop that. So for these two groups that we see, we have the Quran, we have the Sunnah, we have logic, which is telling us that we need to see that this is our home that we've made. These people out here in the neighborhood and everywhere else, there are people. Those are our brothers and sisters in humanity. And that is the Quranic prophetic understanding. Now, we ask a big question. Does that mean that we just assimilate and go along with everything American and practice Islam superficially when it's convenient? No, of course not. That is a total destruction of one's soul. This is a secular country that allows people to pick and choose whatever they want to believe and do. Right? So that is antithesis to what it means to be a Muslim. First and foremost, we are servants of God. That's who we are. We're ibadullah. That's who we are. That's how we feel. That's our priority. That is our main identifying characteristic. Some enemies of Islam will say, see, we saw the Muslims are saying their allegiance to Islam before America. Yeah, their God comes before America. Get rid of all of them. Well, they need to read the Marine Corps motto. The U.S. Marine Corps motto is, honor is loyalty and dedication to God, then country, then Corps, then family, then self. So that's their definition of how we should see our relationship, right? One nation under God. What do you understand that point? The nation, the country is under God. He's the authority. We're underneath Him, right? That's the way it was built. That's the way people say. So people say, no pledge allegiance to the flag. Well, you just said one nation under God. I'm cool with that. My allegiance is that I have laws in this land that as a Muslim I have to obey, and I have to do what's good for this country and be having allegiance in that context. But first and foremost, my allegiance to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, la ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. After that, I'm American and I'm proud of it, and I don't see a compromise. So the issue comes, man tashabbaha biqawmin fahuwa minhum. So, see, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever imitates a people, then he's one of them. So therefore we need to not be anything like Americans. Well, the Prophet ﷺ dressed like the Arabs, and Abu Jahl and Abu Lahab, he ate like them, right? He generally conducted himself, his way of talking was generally like them, right? His customs, his attitude was an Arab man, just like all the polytheists that he lived among. So are you saying that he's now a kafir? Or would you be saying, no, this is blasphemy as a Muslim? So this attitude that we need to wear Eastern clothes to be authentic Muslims is not right. The Prophet's sunnah, from where I'm standing, was to dress like everybody else, but to carry yourself in an Islamic way. So your dress covers your awrah, your dress is not extravagant and arrogant, and you are a person that carries yourself with Islamic character and values and means. So, yes, obviously as Muslims, We are very much opposed to many government policies, foreign policies particularly. We are against many customs and accepted norms that the rest of our brothers and sisters here in America, our people, that they take as acceptable. We're against and opposed to those things. But the question is, how do we deal with that? We respect those people's rights. When we take citizenship here, we're respecting that I live in a secular country and they will make secular laws and people will have laws and ways of living that's not Islamic. As long as those laws do not infringe upon my rights as a Muslim, I don't have no problem with them being done. لَكُمْ دِينُكُمْ وَلِيَ دِينِ. Right? But when they make a law or a policy that directly affects or oppresses a Muslim here or anywhere else on planet Earth, we are going to socio-politically, activistly organize ourselves according to the system that has proved how you get your rights and how you get your way in this country. When you look at African American, women, now the gays, and everybody else, they worked the system. They knew how to do it. This fool idiot in Britain doesn't have a clue what he's doing. Yeah, brother, we're gonna chop them up and this and that because those kuffar and what our people went through. Don't you realize, bro, that they're like 10% of the whole country. They are much more involved, but they all have this separatist attitude. And if you go, by the way, if you go, and I've been there in Birmingham and London, Muslims are often their own little ghettos. It's just all Muslims right here, their own little Pakistan they've made. And then everybody else is over here, so they're like, them people are weird, different, separate. Right? We are looking to integrate so that people can respect who we are. We're not looking to assimilate. And there is no problem, I have found no problem having non-Muslim neighbors and interacting with non-Muslims wherever I go and them knowing that I'm a Muslim and establishing that fact and not hiding that fact at all, praying in public, interacting with people, letting them know my values and my religion. Whenever my religion has something that's different from the common custom, I explain to them in a way that they can grasp and understand very quickly and to the point. And I found that that's worked very good. In interfaith sessions, when I go to interfaith, and anybody who's been will know it's not as some liars and slanderers had thrown around this community. I establish Islam as it is, with no compromise, with no watered down nothing. But I do it in English and I do it with respect to them. Respect you, you're who you are, you have your beliefs. لا تسبوا الذين يدعون من دون الله فيسبوا الله عدوا بغير علم. Do not attack people. This is the Quran. We don't attack people's beliefs. That's their beliefs, that's their right. Everybody has the right to believe what they want. In the end, we have a message we're trying to convey so that people might see Islam as something enticing. And we do that. And what they always tell me is, man, you're a breath of fresh air. And I say, why is that? We've had some other guy come over here talking, he keeps talking Arabic words, we can't follow, we can't understand what he's saying, and all of this. He doesn't know how to relate to the Bible, he doesn't even understand what we believe. He starts saying we believe something, that's not what we believe. So we have to be able to relate to people, to establish ourselves. Well, we ran out of time, so there's actually a lot of things. There's something that inshallah, maybe in next week's sermon, I wanted to talk about the Islamic law regarding urf and ada. How the scholars throughout the history of fiqh al-Islami, how they understood al-urf and al-ada, and how different rulings and situations are made. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم. Bismillah walhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. In conclusion, brothers and sisters, we have a very special innamal mu'minuna ikhwa. We have a very special brotherhood and sisterhood here. It's related to the hearts. And we are certain and we believe that that revelation that came to the Prophet ﷺ that unites us is the straight path that will bring us together to Jannah. But we should see that we are in a mission to let people know what that really is about. Maybe they will embrace it, maybe they will come to respect it, at least. But the last thing that we should be doing is separating ourselves from the people we live amongst, our neighbors, whom the Prophet ﷺ said that I thought about my neighbors, all that I was being told from the angel Gabriel, that they were going to inherit from me like real family. And there's 3 narrations of the famous hadith. And they are all authentic according to the scholars of hadith sciences. لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب, and you all heard لأخيه ما يحب لنفسه. But there are 2 other narrations which are both authentic but not as popular. حتى يحب لجاره ما يحب لنفسه حتى يحب للناس ما يحب لنفسه. All 3 of those have been narrated and are authentic, right? That you love for your neighbor and for all of mankind what you love for yourself. The golden rule, we have that. So we need to embrace our reality that we've chosen this as our home. We need to prepare for the future generations to develop through native scholarship. I had a rabbi I was talking to one time, and Jews have been here generally a lot longer than Muslims have in numbers. And I asked him, you know, obviously when you first came here, we read history that you were attacked as the foreigners and this and that, you have a plot and all of these things. They went through that. Their community went through that. I said, when did that stuff get better? When did y'all get so much power and influence in our society? I'm just keeping it real with him. And so he said, actually it was when we made native rabbinical colleges and training institutions, and all the rabbis were coming from here, and they were leading the people. When that happened, then we were able to organize ourselves, because we understand America better than those that were being imported from Russia and Europe and elsewhere across the world. We knew how to lead the people. So we organized ourselves, and then we started to gain respect and then later strong influence in society. Plus they had a strategy. It's not just good enough to bring somebody who's native. They have to have a strategy. They have to work together with shura, with like minds of those who have an idea, and build that. And so we have to be able to do that. We have to encourage our youth to want to become leaders, either sister scholars or brother imams, whatever it may be. We need to develop that, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala facilitate that for us. Give us sincerity, the love for knowledge, and the correct, proper understanding of your religion. Give us a method and a means to properly convey your message and to follow the example of your Prophet ﷺ as if he was born and raised here amongst us today. How would that be? We ask you, Ya Allah, to remove from us arrogance and evil and corruption and division, and make us unified, seeing the good that we all have to offer to complete each other in this process in serving your deen. We ask you to help all our brothers and sisters here in America and abroad in the world that are being oppressed and tortured and abused, and please forgive us for our shortcomings and our weaknesses, and guide us to the straight path. Wa aqim as-salah wa sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.